Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pandemic EBT and the Summer EBT program, 2023 and beyond, hosted by the Food Research and Action Center, or FRAC. I'm Steve Hayward, FRAC's Senior Communications Coordinator. Before we begin, I'd like to cover a few brief housekeeping items. We expect this webinar to run about 60 minutes. We're recording the presentation and we'll send the recording and slides in a follow-up email. Closed captioning is available. To turn captions on, click the CC button in the bottom taskbar. At the end of the presentation, there will be time for questions and answers from our Arizona and Utah speakers. To ask a question, please use the Q&A tab. With that, I'll pass it off to Kelsey Boone, Senior Child Nutrition Policy Analyst at FRAC.
Thanks so much, Steve, and welcome to the webinar. As Steve mentioned, we will be having a Q&A at the end. That will be just for our Utah and Arizona representatives. As USDA's questions were submitted ahead of time. If you do have a question for USDA, feel free to drop it in the Q&A and we will get that to them and hopefully they can get back to us on the questions that they are able to. So, Steve, next slide. So today's agenda is, I'm going to start with some quick resources and some quick opening pieces, and then I will hand it off to Mimi Wu from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and her co-presenter, Anne, to go over the Summer 2023 guidance that came out last week and the questions that were submitted to them that they are able to answer. After that, we will pass it off to the Utah Department of Workforce Services, Natalie Barfus and Jennifer Reynolds. And then we will pass it to the Arizona Department of Economic Security with Ernest Baca. So that is our agenda. And then we will do Q&A at the end of that. Next slide. So these are just a few of FRAC's resources that we have thus far. On the pandemic EBT side, we have a summary of the provisions in the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2023, so the act that came out in December. And then on the Summer EBT front, we do have a new updated website with an FAQ, as well as a link to 6 things you need to know about Summer EBT benefits, as well as some customizable Summer EBT graphics. This is for the Summer EBT program, not the Summer Pandemic EBT program. So the program that begins in 2024. Next slide. Just want to flag some upcoming webinars from FRAC. So on March 9th, next Thursday, we do have our final installment in our Summer Meals webinar series, Summer Meals Developing an Outreach and Marketing Plan. And then 2 weeks later, we do have a community eligibility kickoff webinar. And on the 27th of April, we will have a webinar on implementing CEP in states that require alternative household income forms. Next slide. All right, and now I will hand it off to Mimi and Anne.
All right. Hi, everyone. So as Kelsey said, my name is Mimi Wu, and I am with Child Nutrition Programs at the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food and Nutrition Service. So my co-presenter, Anne Fiala, and I will be providing an overview of the Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer, or PEBT, for summer 2023. We'll also be providing some information about the Summer EBT program, which is slated to begin next summer in summer 2024. We have a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get started. So as you all know, PEBT provides cash benefits that are redeemable for food to children who lack access to meals at school or in childcare due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to operate PEBT, states must submit plans to USDA for approval. So on February 16th, USDA released updated guidance for PEBT plans for summer 2023, including an updated questions and answers document, as well as a summer plan template. Both of these items, along with a cover memo, are available at the web address you see on the slide. This web address also has all the PEBT plans that USDA has approved so far, including several plans for school year 22-23, as well as summer 23. Let's take a look now at some of the updated guidance. So let's start with what's new for PEBT for summer 23. So for summer 23, states can submit a summer PEBT plan without a school year PEBT plan for children in schools or childcare. This is different from previous summers where states had to have an approved PEBT plan for the school year before USDA could approve a PEBT plan for the summer. So all that being said, we know many states have or will still choose to move forward with a PEBT plan for the school year, along with a summer plan, which is absolutely wonderful. USDA, of course, supports states that want to extend PEBT benefits to as many eligible children as possible. The PEBT benefit amount for summer 23 is also different from previous summers. The benefit amount for summer 23 may not exceed $120 for the covered summer period, with amounts adjusted for Alaska, Hawaii, and the U.S. territories. Finally, only school children who attended an NSLP participating school during the last month of school year 22-23 and are qualified to receive free or reduced price school meals during that time are eligible for summer 23 benefits. So this includes all students who attended a school that participated in the Community Eligibility Provision, CEP, or Special Provisions 2 or 3 in school year 22-23, or were directly certified for school meals or certified for application in school year 22-23. Children in schools or school districts that have been newly approved to begin operating under CEP or provisions 2 or 3 in school year 23-24 are only eligible for summer 23 PEBT benefits if they are determined income eligible or categorically eligible for free or reduced price school meals. School children who did not attend an NSLP participating school in school year 22-23 are not eligible for PEBT for summer 23. Also, if the COVID-19 public health emergency ends as expected on May 11th, 2023, then states may not issue summer 23 PEBT benefits to non-school age children in childcare and SNAP participating households. Okay. So now let's talk about the end of the COVID-19 public health emergency, or PHE, and how the end of the PHE impacts PEBT. So the Biden administration and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced that it intends to end the COVID-19 PHE on May 11th, 2023. So the legislation for PEBT makes school children eligible for PEBT benefits during the summer period that follows the school year that the PHE occurred. However, non-school age children in childcare and SNAP participating households are only eligible for PEBT benefits while the PHE is in place. If the PHE ends on May 11th, 2023, as anticipated, then, like I just said on the previous slide, states may not issue summer 23 PEBT benefits to non-school age children in childcare. Additionally, funding for PEBT is only available in the federal fiscal year that the PHE occurred. As you all know, fiscal year 2023 ends on September 30th, 2023. Therefore, states must issue all PEBT benefits by September 30th, 2023. So now we'll wrap up this the summer PEBT section with just some tips for drafting a successful PEBT plan for summer 23. So your first step, of course, is to download the updated summer 23 PEBT plan template from our website. I can drop the link for that into the chat after I'm done talking. The version of the plan template on our website is a PDF, but if you want the template as a Word document, please reach out to your FNS regional office. So we found that the PEBT plans we've received for summer have been pretty straightforward. A few things that we often ask states for more clarification on after we review their initial plan are listed on the slide. So let's go through those now. So the first thing is the school meals application deadline. In your summer plan, you want to be sure to clearly state the application deadline for determining if a student is eligible for summer 23 PEBT benefits. So this is the date by which households must submit their school meals applications in order to be eligible for PEBT benefits for summer. So this date could be the same across the entire state. This is what Hawaii, Utah, and Vermont have done. Or they can vary based on the SFA or school site, and that's what Wisconsin and Arizona have done. If you're choosing a deadline that is on or later than July 1st, 2023, please specify that you will use the income eligibility guidelines for school year 23-24 for applications received on or after July 1st. Please also make sure you provide at least a brief rationale or reasoning for choosing your application date. You always also want to make sure that all PEBT benefits are issued by September 30th, 2023. And of course, the sooner the better. That means all issuance dates in your plan should be before September 30th, 2023. We are encouraging states to issue benefits by late August, beginning of September at the latest, just so that if issues arise, there'll be more time to correct them. Finally, you want to be sure to review your reconsideration process and public information campaign to make sure they reflect the changes to PEBT for summer 23. You know, some of these changes include a new benefit amount, no PEBT benefits for childcare, possibly a new application deadline, etc. So as always, USDA continues to be available for technical assistance via calls and emails as needed, whether that's before or after your plan is submitted. Please reach out to your FNS regional office if you'd like to set up a call. And with that, I will now turn this over to Ann Fiala to discuss Summer EBT, and I will see you all in just a little bit for USDA's question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. So let's pivot and dive right into Summer EBT. The big news that I'm sure everyone on the call knows is that Summer EBT has been authorized as a permanent program. And this new Summer EBT program is separate and distinct from the Summer EBT demonstrations, which we've done for the last decade or so. They were limited in scope and conducted for the purpose of learning. And it's also distinct from Pandemic EBT, which was authorized as part of the federal government's response to COVID. So this new Summer EBT program is intended to provide EBT benefits on an ongoing basis for children during the summer to ensure they continue to have access to food when school is out. Summer EBT, the new program, is effective beginning in summer 2024. And so we have a lot of work to do between now and then. The law directs FNS to promulgate regulations or put into place regulations within 1 year of enactment of the law, which is the December deadline you see on the screen. And also the law specifies that this rule can incorporate or should incorporate best practices from the summer demonstrations and from Pandemic EBT. So you're asking, who can operate Summer EBT? States are allowed to participate, and this includes U.S. territories of Puerto Rico, American Samoa, and the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. The law also allows Indian tribal organizations, or ITOs, that operate the WIC program to participate. We've done this before in the summer demonstration projects, some of which were operated by Indian tribal organizations. Similar to PEBT, households that are served by states will be able to use their summer benefits to purchase SNAP-eligible foods from SNAP retailers. And similar to the summer demonstrations, eligible households served by an Indian tribal organization may use a benefit model similar to WIC to redeem their benefits. And as the law says, Summer EBT benefits are also subject to the same integrity measures as the WIC and SNAP program. So now who can participate? The law includes a few ways to identify who is eligible. First is children who have already been determined to be eligible for free or reduced price school meals, or who are otherwise able to be directly certified as eligible. For children attending provision schools, where all kids eat free, such as a CEP school, only children with an individual eligibility determination can be automatically enrolled. Now, I want to emphasize that this is different from PEBT, which served all kids at provision schools, because that's the way that the law that authorized PEBT was structured. For children who don't meet these criteria, states must provide an application and make determinations based on school meal eligibility guidelines. The statute establishes benefits at $40 per month per eligible child, with an adjustment for Alaska, Hawaii, and the US territories. And it says that benefits may only be used in the summer months, except for children who attend school on a continuous calendar. USDA will pay 50% of the state or Indian tribal organizations' administrative expenses, and this includes the expenses of local education agencies or other participating agencies. And finally, beginning in summer 2024, the law says that FNS may not use summer demonstration funds for EBT products because this new EBT program will be in place. So that concludes the overview of the summer EBT portions of the omnibus. But next up, we have non-congregate provisions that were also included in the omnibus. So the omnibus establishes a non-congregate option in the summer food service program. This option is a part of the SFSP and is not a new program. Operators that offer a non-congregate meal service still need to follow the requirements of the summer food service program unless otherwise specified. Similar to the PEBT provisions, we have to issue regulations by December 2023. And the law specifies that these regulations have to address integrity and incorporate best practices and lessons learned from the summer demonstrations. This option is available for this summer, 2023, so coming up fast. And in recognition of the fact that regulations won't be ready until after this summer's operations, the statute authorizes the issuance of guidance, which will allow states to use implementation models developed for the summer demonstrations in this summer in 2023. And breaking news, I'm pleased to announce that our first guidance memo was issued to states just yesterday, and it will be up on our website shortly, so please check for that. This memo includes questions and answers on summer 2023 operations. And we continue to get questions from state agencies and other stakeholders. We anticipate now that we've put out this memo, we'll get even more questions. And so we anticipate we'll do more guidance and technical assistance as we move forward to make sure that our states and program operators are really equipped with all the tools they need to operate this summer. Now, the statute does place some limits on where and to whom non-congregate meals may be provided. Non-congregate meal service is limited to, this is the quote, rural areas with no congregate meal service. Children may only be served non-congregate meals in an area in which poor economic conditions exist, which we commonly call an area eligible area, or other areas if the child is individually determined to be eligible for free or reduced price meals, which is similar to how the SFSP generally works. And states must establish a process for identifying gaps in service and barriers to reaching needing children through both the congregate and the non-congregate models. Over a 10-day calendar period, the number of reimbursable meals provided to a child through the non-congregate option may not exceed the number of meals that could be provided over a 10-day calendar period in general. So basically, non-congregate meals will be subject to the same daily meal limits as meals served in a congregate setting. Meals still have to meet all applicable state, local, and health and safety standards and meet the requirements of the regulations promulgated under this section. So all of the SFSP requirements again. And this includes our overview of the new aspects of the omnibus when it comes to summer. We did receive some questions from this audience before the webinar, and we sincerely appreciate hearing from you. Thank you so much. Your questions really do help us to understand the opportunities and challenges that you're seeing when it comes to operating PEBT, SFSP, and Summer EBT. And although we can't answer all of them on today's call, I do really want to stress that we hear them, we read them, we consider them, and we think about them when we're working on program development. So for now, we'll go ahead and we'll answer the ones that we're able to answer, but please do keep the questions coming. So, next slide. Next one after that. So the first question is, would USDA be willing to leverage their translation capabilities to distribute Summer EBT sample materials in multiple languages for states to use for outreach? It's a great question. I can't say for sure right now what we'll provide and if we would provide exactly what's being suggested here. However, FNS is really committed to providing a range of assistance to support states and program operators, at all levels. And it could include things like fact sheets or FAQs or other materials that would be helpful. So we appreciate this idea. We'll take it back and we'll keep it in mind as we work on our implementation plans. And also I would say if there are particular languages that you want to translate it into, let us know so we know what the need is. And with that, I'll turn it back to Mimi.
Great, thank you, Anne. That was wonderful. Okay, so our next question is, and I hope you guys are enjoying the stock art that we've been putting on the slides, probably the most fun part of this presentation. So our next question is, will full administrative funding be available beyond the September 30th deadline for operations that fall under the PEBT that extend beyond the end of the fiscal year? So if the PHE ends this fiscal year, as you all know, it's currently anticipated to end May 11th, 2023. This will mean that fiscal year 2023 will be the final year for both the issuance of new benefits, so that's any benefits associated with fiscal year 23 eligibility, and for the issuance of retroactive benefits. So those are benefits that are associated with eligibility in prior periods in which PEBT was authorized. So as FNS will lose access to the PEBT appropriation on September 30th, 2023, no issuance of PEBT benefits will be permitted after that date. In terms of state PEBT administrative costs grant funding, because FNS will no longer have access to the appropriation that funds PEBT after September 30th, FNS will need the states to think not only about administrative costs for FY23, but also for the closeout period that may trickle into FY24. FNS acknowledges that regardless of the issuance models, regardless of how the state is issuing benefits, it will have legitimate administrative concerns of PEBT in fiscal year 24. FNS recognizes that all states will have administrative costs associated with the orderly conclusion and shutdown of PEBT activity. So currently, state and local administrative cost grants have a performance period that runs from October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023. However, once the PHE end date is finalized, we will provide the necessary guidance to our regional offices, who in turn will provide guidance to their state and local counterparts on any updates or changes to the process, including moving into FY24. This may or may not require that we extend the period of performance on the current on the current administrative cost grant to allow states to issue any remaining benefits and cover any remaining administrative costs. Okay, and then our next question is USDA willing to provide one-on-one technical assistance for states who are not planning on submitting because they do not believe they can issue benefits before the September 30th deadline? The answer to that is yes. We would love to work with you, chat with you anytime. Please reach out to your FNS regional office, who in turn will schedule a call with the PEBT team. And then the last question we'll answer to USDA will answer today is one we got in the chat just now, which is, will states be able to issue PEBT benefits for the childcare population for the month of May, because the public health emergency ends on May 11th, 2023? So that is an excellent question. We're glad that that's something you're thinking of. And the answer to that is yes. Childcare benefits should be issued for May, but it needs to be a prorated benefit. So May 11th, 2023, that is a Thursday. There are only 9 weekdays in May prior to the end of the PHE. So just think about that. For childcare plans, most childcare plans will have 18 days per month or 20 instructional days per month, but that May only has 9. So think about how you would prorate that monthly benefit for May accordingly. In case I'm not describing it well, I recommend that everyone looks on the website at Indiana's plan, Michigan plan, and Massachusetts plan. They really outline how they will prorate their benefits for May for childcare. So that is all from us. Thank you all so much. And I will turn this back over to Kelsey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I do acknowledge that there are other questions in the Q&A box. I will be sending those to USDA. And if they are able to answer any of those, we will send answers in our follow-up email whenever we send out both the slides and the link to the recording of this webinar. And there were a few that were able to be answered. And if you go into the Q&A function, you should be able to see those answers. And they are generally on questions that have been either previously expanded upon or have been shown through other approved plans. So again, I will get those questions to USDA and hopefully we can get some of these questions answered. So I want to thank Mimi and Anne and all of the USDA team for joining us today. I do want to move on to our next presenter. I am going to hand it off to Natalie Barfus from the Department of Workforce Services in Utah. So Natalie.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Barfus. I'm one of the state SNAP program specialists in Utah. And just a quick outline of the differences between our current plan for 2023 and our previous plan for 2022. So as you're all aware, the biggest one is that we won't be issuing to children who are under school age. The second big thing is that we will not be issuing benefits more than once. We have an initial issuance planned with eligibility established by the 1st of May for our school partners. And then we have a period of reconsideration that will end in August, and we're already getting ready to publish that information to both our website and our CNP partners' website information. And then we will catch any final benefit challenges, be it an error or a misreport by a school agency, to make sure that those benefits are issued within the first couple of weeks of September so that we're issuing definitely ahead of that deadline. We did not have any new eligibility established in school year 23's summer plan like we did in the summer 22 plan. That's simply because based on where schools end and when they go back, we do not have sufficient time to gather and collate the data and make that payment deadline by the end of September. The basic differences are no new summer eligibility and no issuance for those children that are younger than school aged. We do have a uniform turnoff date for our applications for the entire state of May 1st. And that's in order to allow our school partners the time to gather that data and get it turned into us before they are on summer break and their staffing becomes less. Those are the basic breakdowns between our plans, and we look forward to hearing any questions from you later on in the presentation. Kelsey, back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Natalie. Again, continue to put your questions in the Q&A box, and we will address those that we can for these panelists at the end. I do want to now turn it over to Ernest from the Department of Economic Security.
Thanks, Kelsey. Hi, I'm Ernest Baca. I'm from the Department of Economic Security. I'm the Deputy Systems Administrator for our SNAP program over here in Arizona. And we're very grateful to our partners at FNS and our education department being able to offer up a PEBT program for this school year for children under 6 population. And also we're going to be doing a summer program for our school children, as FNS just mentioned, that with the health emergency ending, unfortunately, the under 6 population is not going to be included in that. Although if it does get extended, you know, we'll make an effort to try to deal with that if it comes up. One thing I did hear in the summer 2024 presentation for summer EBT might be worth mentioning is I believe the expungement period is going to be a little shorter for that permanent program, so that might be something to consider with your EBT processors. Like Utah, there aren't a whole lot of changes from our last summer program. We did make for this year, you know, we had I think communication was key between our SNAP program, education, the districts, local schools, in getting the PEBT program approved and working quickly. And I can't leave out our stakeholders over at the retailer organizations in the state, as well as the food banks, and helping get the word out about our program and the potential benefits available to students. As FNS mentioned earlier, the rate has dropped to $120 this year, and we're hoping to have it wrapped up and issuance completed by September 30th. We have to. And with that said, we've been working pretty closely with our stakeholders, and we're hoping to have all this process implemented and benefits issued in July and late July, early August, while we're still in the summer period this year, which is going to be a nice improvement. And we're planning to do a final catch-up run in late August, September, to try to meet that FNS deadline. One of the biggest moves for our summer program has been for PEBT is going to 1 card per child, which has worked out pretty well from an administrative standpoint. It's allowed the card to follow the child, as we found many children have very fluid living conditions, especially during the summertime. And having 1 card per child reduces help desk calls to things that are quickly fixed, such as address updates and card reissuances. So that's something that we've adopted here in Arizona. For 23, we're going to be trying to reuse our 22 cases as much as possible. And those PEBT cards, so we've been getting the word out to families to hang on to those cards as they're going to be reloaded as eligible children are paid. One other benefit this year, side benefit, is since we're PHE is ending, some of those crossover kids, which may have been eligible for childcare or potentially NSLP school lunch, will only, since they're not there, we don't have to be trying to filter those children out from potentially being in both populations. So, you know, we're looking forward to that. Our education department has invested in a portal for our school food authorities to upload their eligible rosters, including newly eligible children. And we're hoping to continue to utilize that into the permanent program when it becomes available. And we're also hoping that a lot of the things we've built over the last few years for PEBT will translate over to a permanent program. So, you know, it'll be an easier sell for everyone involved to continue this program into the future. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Kelsey, take it back to you.
Thanks so much, Ernest. And one thing I really want to highlight that Ernest said was about their portal that they made permanent and are going to be able to reuse. This is the time for states to really start utilizing or to utilize their 100% administrative funding under the Pandemic EBT program. So for any any program that can be, or any structure that can be set up this summer to distribute pandemic EBT benefits, if that is able to be reused for summer EBT, that is great, and that is a usable, an approvable administrative funding piece. So we really encourage states to look at some of their systems that they've been using to distribute pandemic EBT benefits, and if any of those need to be adjusted or made permanent, and you're able to do that for this summer's pandemic EBT program, to make them, permanent program or permanent structures, we definitely encourage states to do that. So thank you for highlighting that, Ernest. Steve, next slide. So we did go over, or FNS did go over most of this information, so I'm not going to rehash it, but this is just a small slide about what is included in the omnibus language. The 50% administrative funding starting in 2024. So this summer, again, will be under pandemic EBT. So summer pandemic EBT. Next summer, 2024, is going to be under the summer EBT program. So they are two distinct programs, so they obviously have a lot of overlap in the way that they function. So we won't go over everything there. And the last piece, there was a question earlier about the time frame that summer benefits may be used. In the omnibus language, it did mention about a 4-month expungement timeline. So there will be a shorter timeline for families to utilize these funds. At least that's what we expect. Obviously, the guidance is not out yet for the summer EBT program, but that is what we expect. And the parameters of that are yet to be decided. So I just want to highlight that, as that was a question that came up. It looks like we do have quite a few questions. Some of them are for panelists, and some of them I will try to answer to the best of my ability. And if I cannot get to your question or do not have the information and our panelists don't, we will send that on to USDA. So I will first start with the answer to questions from earlier, just to highlight them. So the first question was, what if the student goes to a standard school, but they qualified for reduced lunch? Are they eligible? So all students who have been approved for free or reduced price meals are eligible for summer PEBT and summer EBT benefits. So it is not just the free students, it is the free and the reduced students. The next question was, will students who are homeschooled or attended virtually non-NSLP participating schools during the school year in 2022-2023 be eligible for summer PEBT in 2023? The answer to that is no. Homeschooled and virtual students are eligible for the school year benefit, but not the summer benefit for pandemic EBT. That was a change made in the omnibus language. So unfortunately, those students are not eligible for this coming summer, but they still are eligible for the school year if the state submits a plan and gets that approved. The next question was, for the school year 2022-2023, the deadline to apply to receive free and reduced meals is June 30th. Would FNS approve this early of a date in order to get benefits issued by the 9/30 deadline? And as we've heard from some of our presenters, yes, that is a deadline that has been suggested and has been approved by FNS. So if the state does want to make the application deadline for newly eligible June 30th, that has been approved previously. So it seems to follow that it would be approved moving forward. Let me see. So one of the just housekeeping question, this presentation, the slides will be sent out, and the recording of this webinar will be sent out in a follow-up within a week or two of the conclusion of this presentation. Ernest and Natalie, do you have an estimate of when you think your summer PEBT benefits will be going out?
I can answer for Utah. we have our deadline for applications with our schools as of May 1st. And we anticipate issuing the first round of benefits of that reporting in July. And then we'll let the reconsideration and, parents who didn't receive a benefit but anticipated report, review, consider those, parent questions. And then if we find any that were missing and should have been issued, that gives the school about 4 weeks to find and report those to us and for the state to make a final issuance in September.
Thanks, Natalie. This Ernest in Arizona, it sounds very similar to what Arizona's doing. Our timeline's almost identical to yours. We're definitely trying to hit that September 30th deadline. And our first issuance is going to be, I don't know, it won't be in the beginning of July, but we're definitely aiming for, mid to late July at the latest to try to get those funds out during the summer to those children that need it.
Thank you so much. So we've had this question a couple of times. Is school year 2022-2023 eligibility based on eligibility at the time a student began homeschooling or virtually attending a non-NSLP school due to COVID? In other words, their eligibility when they were in school prior to COVID. So the only students that are eligible for the virtual and homeschool are students who began virtual and homeschooling during the COVID pandemic, so after January of 2020, and that had to be due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So if they made the decision to enter homeschool or virtual school after January 2020 due to COVID-19, they're income eligible, they will be eligible for the benefit if their state has an approved plan. That income eligibility is not based on whether they had a free reduced price meal application before the pandemic. They will need to submit new income verification through whatever state process the state has been approved for. So if a student entered homeschool last September and before that they were free reduced price eligible, they will need to be re-verified through whatever state process is in place. So whether that be an application that they need to fill out online or whether the state will come and ask them for that information. So it is not whether or not they were eligible at the time they entered homeschool, it is what their eligibility is currently. And homeschool and non-NSLP virtual students cannot apply for Summer EBT moving forward. That is also a population that will not be eligible for the Summer EBT benefit in 2024, as they did not participate in an NSLP school before in the school year prior to that summer, and that is written in the statute. As far as the summer 2024 EBT program and who that would be administered by, either the state SNAP agency or the Department of Education, a lot of states, in pandemic EBT, it has been very state dependent. For the most part, the program has been housed in the state SNAP agency in most states, but there have been states that have used their State Department of Education. We do anticipate that it will continue to be a joint program between the two agencies, as there will be information coming from both agencies. But as far as who houses the program and administers the program, again, that will be very state dependent. We're assuming that a lot of state SNAP agencies will take the lead, but again, it is kind of a wait and see situation and a state dependent situation. So as far as graduated students in Summer Pandemic EBT, Natalie or Ernest, would you like to take this question, the answer to this question? If not, I can jump in.
Kelsey, as far as Utah's plan, those students would be included because they were enrolled in school and approved for the free or reduced, or attending CEP school, whatever that qualification we provided in our plan on May 1st, and would therefore be eligible.
Yeah, we second that.
Another question very similar to the one I answered about homeschool and virtual school eligibility. Eligibility does need to be determined based on a school year 2022-2023 application. States cannot use past years meal benefit eligibility in order to make eligibility determinations for the pandemic EBT program this school year. In prior years, they were able to do that, but that is a change due to the end of the universal meals waiver. So now all eligible students must have a current school meal determination. Okay. So for the permanent eligibility requirements for children enrolled in CEP and Provision 2 schools. So again, I'm just going to reiterate what FNS said earlier. The eligibility requirement for pandemic EBT for students in CEP and Provision 2 schools, so that would be this summer, under the pandemic EBT program, those students are eligible for the benefits. So if a student attends a CEP or Provision 2 school this summer, they will be eligible for the pandemic Summer EBT benefit. Next year, that eligibility will change. So unless they are individually eligible, so they're either directly certified and part of the identified student percentage, meaning that they take place or they participate in programs such as SNAP, TANF, and in some states Medicaid, depending on whether the state has adopted Medicaid direct cert. Those students will be eligible, as well as any student that has a free reduced price meal application approved. So any individually certified student will be eligible. The rest of the students in CEP and Provision 2 schools, it doesn't mean that they're ineligible. It just means that the state will have to come up with an application process for those students to see if there is an eligibility, so they can make an eligibility determination based off of income for the rest of the CEP Provision 2, Provision 3 students. So it will be a little confusing moving forward, but I'm sure it will become even more clear as guidance comes out, but that is what we know as of now for CEP and Provision 2. All right, so the next, I have a question for Arizona. How do we know what the plan is for our state in regards to the procedures for Summer PEBT school year 23?
I'm a little unclear about.
Yeah, that's a if the person who wrote the question for Arizona, if you want to submit a clear question, I can either send it to Ernest or we can answer it live if you're able to do that quickly. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Summer EBT benefits. Can Summer EBT benefits be placed onto PEBT specific cards, or should states apply these benefits to a different card? So as far as the exact procedure for how Summer EBT benefits, so 2024 benefits, will be issued is not quite clear yet. The guidance is still being written. I don't know if they will be I doubt that they would be put on PEBT specific cards. I believe that it would probably be on a more generic EBT card, but again, we have to wait for the guidance to see how the actual issuances will play out and the way that they're going to handle those types of things.
I know from an administrative funding standpoint, it definitely would be a lot less costly to be able to reuse those cards. So that would be something that would be nice, even if it was a little confusing.
Yeah, definitely something to send to USDA and make sure that they're aware of, and definitely a question we can pass on to them. All right, I think most of the rest of the questions will be for USDA. And again, I will pass those on to them and see which ones they are able to answer at this time, and try to circulate those responses with the slides as well as the link to the presentation. If there are no more final questions, I want to thank all of our presenters, USDA, Natalie and Ernest, as well as everyone else that was able to join on our panel. Really appreciate you giving us your insights, and we look forward to moving forward through this new program and then the new program with all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelsey. We really appreciate the time.
All right, have a wonderful day, everyone.